Hey folks, Dallas here with Privateer Press, and last time we covered getting our red on our Scorn armor just right. Today, we're going to get our textile on and lay down some Mage Hunter Green. So, let's get started. And to paint our Arcanist, we're going to need a base coat of a little bit of Troll Blood base and some Trader Green. And this will form the foundation of our cloth here. And this is just going to be an equal amount. I'm just using my old grabby stick here. And I'm going to actually make 2 reservoirs of this same color. For this recipe, it uses the base color to create the shadow and the base color to create the highlight. So by creating 2 reservoirs of the same color, I can quickly move into my shadow and into my highlight without doing any remixing or anything like that. And I use a lot of paint just in case I need more later. Who knows? I might need to go back to my base color. So by having lots available, lets me work quicker. Those look pretty equitable. Looks like a little green in that top one is needed. Just grab a touch of that. All right, let's get our base coats on. And just a touch of water to loosen, sharpen to a point. Make sure my brush is loaded. And we're just going to start applying paint. And this will just be kind of anywhere you need, or anywhere you want. This Mage Hunter Green, I like to call this color Mage Hunter Green. Use it for all the retribution stuff, but it's a good color. Anywhere I want to be this cloth color. So there's a little apron here. And I'm getting on the buttons. That's okay. Buttons gotta be painted later. 1 layer of paint won't hurt them. And just quickly go over. And just make sure you get all the little crevices, folds, nooks, and crannies. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do a second base coat. And just very quickly go over what's already been painted, just to get a nice even coat on our little Arcanist here. A coat on his coat. All right, front's all done. And I'm not going to worry about the back because this is just for demonstrations. Just to get the idea and how to apply the colors and the thoughts behind painting some cloth. Let's get started on some shadows. And since I created my 2 reservoirs of paint, I'm going to start the shadow. I'm just going to start that on that top line. I'm just going to add some of this Crixbane base to my base color to create that first shadow. And sharpen my brush. I'm just going to put this, a lot of little creases, folds, wrinkles. Just start working that shadow in there. You can blend this out. Give that a little blend there. Just the undersides. Just giving this a little shadow. Just nice, subtle. Just to give it some depth. I'm working pretty quickly here. Not looking for perfect blends on this guy. I want him on the tabletop. I'm ready to do some battle. Just some shadows and all those little folds and wrinkles. All right, that looks like a pretty good first shade. So let's get started with that second one. For this, we're just going to add some Sanguine base to the previous mix. So that Crixbane and base color, we're just going to add some Sanguine base to that. This gives it that red richness that you see in the retribution shadows. Turns it a little purple, very desaturated purple. This mixes, you're just adding a couple drops to what you've already created to get about the redness that you want. I like a good desaturated tone there. You can put it here to see how it looks. That looks nice. All right. Now for this, I'm just going to apply this just to the deepest lines and recesses of the cloth here. To represent those deep shadows. You can soften the edge of those if you want with a little blending. A lot of it's just lines. I'm just going to go around all the shadows, all around him. Just keep going until everything is got that deep shadow on there. That arm's super shadowy. This red just makes a really nice contrast to the green that we have going on. And contrast is all about just that separation of colors and shape. And this line seems a little harsh. I'm going to give it a little, just go back in there, apply a little paint, just soften that out, make that a little soft. And with our second shade done, we're ready to move on to our highlight. For this, we'll be using a little bit of Midland Flesh to add some warmth to our base color to get our highlights going. Let's grab a couple drops of that and a couple drops of this. Let's get a little bit more of that. Maybe another drop. So about 2 to 1. And this will be our first highlight. Once again, load my brush, give it a little spin, get that sharp point on it. Just start applying this to the raised surfaces. Once again, I'm really just letting the brush do the work here. I'm just barely touching the model. Just getting some highlights on this guy. These little areas where it's stretched and strapped. The tops of these pockets always look really good. A little blend on there. Maybe one over here. You can see it starting to really come out here. It's always that second highlight that's always most exciting for me. I like getting this first one on because you're like, oh man, this guy's gonna look good. And then you put that second highlight on, you're like, oh my God, I was right. Just work away all the way around your guy. Just remember, let the brush do the work. So let's go ahead and apply our final highlight. And for this, we'll be using Underbelly Blue. We're just going to mix it right into our previous mix. There's just going to be a couple drops of this. to lighten it up. This is nice and cool. It'll be a nice counter to that red shadow in the deepest parts of the cloth. And this is going to be a very minimal highlight. We're just doing the upper surfaces. Just the raised areas and the trim. I'm just using the side of my brush and the very tip. Nice thin paint, get a nice sharp point on there. Just touch in some highlights. Just to give that cloth that nice, sharp foldedness. And just those poppy highlights. Remember, it doesn't matter if you get it on the buttons. We're going to cover those buttons later. Since this is cloth, sometimes I like to, if you want, you can give little dash lines. Gives that cloth that stitch look. We put it in the highlight. Gives it that texture. For lines like that, I like to keep the brush away from the model. Just get my head going. Slowly come in and just touch it. That's how you get those nice little sharp lines. Use my thumb to get my little pencil sharpener there. Just really grip up on here. Choke up on your brush. Get nice and steady. Just use the tip to get that little bit of texture on there. It's barely noticeable, but the eye does pick it up. I'm full of tips today. And just a little line. It doesn't take much of this final highlight to really make things stand out. Just to make them look more like straps. And there we go. We got our Mage Hunter Green painted on our Arcanist, and it looks really sharp and ready for the tabletop. With those nice warm shadows and those cool highlights, it really brings it to life and makes it look great. Our fabric looks fabulous, and we have an excellent start to the model. Join me next time, and we'll tackle some of that work on our leathers. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more videos, and check out these links below for more in this series and additional information on the P3 Hobby line. I probably shouldn't drink this much coffee in a day. Or I should. Better.